God damn it.
What? Don't be so butthurt. It's week 13. It's what for most leagues, one week away from the playoffs. Here's what I'm going to say. I think this might be for many the most stressful week because next week, with so many different buys, there's so many teams that are on the cusp, but they know that they can't afford to lose this week if they have the Lamar Jackson, the Derrick Henrys, the other 5-6 teams on the bye, because you don't want to chalk next week up to a loss, but it's going to be much more difficult. And we'll lead him with that. So,
all right,
week 3.
Sorry, hit that button a little too soon when you were still talking.
I wasn't still talking. I'm a rambler in the morning. We used to love, remember when we made that switch about 3 years ago? We liked the idea of the cold open where we just went in kind of chit chat and thinking that, I don't know if there's a proper approach because, I mean, who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? I mean, I don't think, it's not like a cover letter for a resume where we're trying to grab people and get it in back. Do you want to know why your child has 36% increased chance of this? Well, tune in later as we'll discuss that amongst, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we know it's week 13. It's crazy. We know week 14 is going to happen, but
I 100% agree with you. I bet you a lot of people, this guy included, was looking at this week and saying, okay, this week is going to help compensate my loss in week 14 especially after my draft. Because it's like, okay, I'm chalking up week 14 to just an automatic L because the people I have on my rosters, like Jaden Daniels or anybody for Washington or everybody else who's on by, those are my guys, and it is what it is. And now you're hating it. We always tell people, like, pay attention, but don't pay attention to bye weeks. Build your roster as you may. And this is the time of year where then we go back and we're like, it matters a little, like, especially you're out on the border of it.
It does. And, I said that on Wednesday night for our Fourth and Frame show that one of my best strategies, if you will, it's not even strategy. It's just when you play enough years, you start to pick up on these things. We've never really faced week 14 buys consistently until the last, half decade, really, where the later week buys have really been as impactful. But go in and look and see, if you are up against a person who has Lamar or Henry and they don't have a backup quarterback, and I mean, you can get rid of some of these wasted spots on your roster. If you happen to have J.K. Dobbins, you can drop him. You can get rid of some of the people that you think are going to be, and I'm going to use this name just because he's sitting on my bench and I don't know why I don't drop him. It's someone like Wan'Dale Robinson. He has no business being on my team anymore. That's stupid, but he's sitting there. And so what do? I go in, I see the team I'm playing next week has one of their tight ends on a bye. And so you go in and I try to figure out who the best tight end available they may want to pick up just to at least go over the second tier. But as Drew and Rhett pointed out, makes sense. It makes sense of Murphy's Law for me is I pick up the person who doesn't do well, forcing their hand to pick up the second person who's in a worse matchup, and they go off for 7 and 100 and a touchdown or something goofy. You know what I mean? That type of scenario. So,
for sure. And I forget if you guys mentioned this or not, but the exact person I'm about to mention. But for those who are struggling at quarterback, Trevor Lawrence is still available in a lot of leagues out there. And when you look at his upcoming matchups here, he has a tough one in week 15. But for the rest of the season, he's not exactly facing like world beaters when it comes to best defenses he'll be playing. I mean, he has the Jets week 15, which even then the Jets, the secondary for the Jets hasn't been the Jets this year. So if he's out there, I would snatch him up and drop one of these people, these roster cloggers that you're keeping him just for the sake of for keeping. You know what really grinds my gears, Nate, and I have no reason to grind my gears. People, they draft their teams, and then God forbid, your star player or a player that you wanted all off season heading into your draft goes on IR, done for the year, not 4 weeks.
Yep.
And they move these people to their IR spots. And I'm like, why are you still rostering them? Oh, because I want the idea that they're still on my team to be on my team. And that's what the IR spot's for. I'm like, no, moron. That is not what the IR spot is for. Let go of the sentiment. Drop the player. Move. I don't know.
Your team dynamic's going to be fine. No, the make-believe roster spot that you have for Nico Collins isn't going to be butthurt when you get rid of Stephon Diggs because their team correlation will not correlate to your fantasy team correlation. There's no, clubhouse presence for person on your team. So I agree with you. I know what you're saying. If keeper dynasty or anything, I'm maybe even certain, the keepers. That's actually that's what grinds my gears. If you want to get to it, is if you're going to start a keeper league, and it's happened in a few that I've been in where you don't have an IR spot or you don't have at least a deep enough bench where you force people to have to make that decision, which kind of sucks. I hate to, if you lose a player, if you had Rashee Rice for a good value and you have to, contemplate just dropping him outright, knowing that you can't take advantage of that keeper spot. I get it. Everybody follows the same rules and it applies to every single person, but situations like that. But here, I'll digress. Rachel's early on and always with us on Sunday mornings. So I want you to answer this for us. First of all, you're our favorite person, and she needs IDP help. So you'd start two of these, Jorge. Blake Cashman, Jelani Tavai, DeMar Hamlin, Christian Izien, and Garrett Williams.
I would go. I need to with Ivan Pace being, I believe he was still injured last week, so
yes.
Problematic. Although they did just bring in, I think they brought in Quan Alexander.
I felt like I saw that same thing too. I don't.
Not that I'm expecting him to jump and eat into Cashman's snaps right off the bat, right? But it would be Cashman, and then for me, I would go DeMar Hamlin, strong safety, box safety for the Buffalo Bills going against the San Francisco 49ers, which if you were watching the live feed of Orchard Park at 4 a.m., because what else would you be doing at 4 a.m. on a Sunday? Wow, that's going to be a in the elements type of game.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you right there for the exact same reasons why you laid out.
We got another one from Will. Will's a frequent member of the Shoot the Grat crew. We love seeing him on every show that we're doing here.
After all the bad advice, I tell you, what a dedicated individual.
He still comes back. I mean, we purposefully sabotage him. We berate him on the show about how he gets upset that we sabotage him, and then we're like, well, we told you we're sabotaging you. Well, just kidding. But he keeps coming back, and we appreciate that. Well, best rest of season guy to own: Grant Delpit or Xavier Woods. I looked ahead at the schedule, and it looks like Delpit has it more favorable. Yeah, so Delpit's been playing a lot better actually for fantasy purposes. We've always known that he's been more of the in the box guy. Looking at his solo, let me pull up his stats right here.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with him has always been kind of like he's always teetered between not being really a more solo to assist tackle person. He's been more of like a balance solo to assist guy. And so you're kind of like hoping that he gets a huge amount of tackle volume. And then let's think about like when would that apply, right? So against run heavy teams would be my assumption. So at Denver this week, okay. Pittsburgh, yeah. Kansas City. What we saw with Pacheco, I mean, you could probably speak on this more with Pacheco back the other day on Friday. They're utilizing him right out the bat pretty significantly, I think. And then Cincinnati, week 16, Chase Brown, For me, I like week 14 and 15. Week 16 for Delpit, I think that's going to be more of an air it out game than I do think a keep it on the ground game. But for 2 out of the 3 weeks in the fantasy playoffs, if you start your playoffs on week 14, I like it. What are your thoughts here, Nate?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I just also have Delpit on a week in and week out basis quite a bit higher than Xavier would. So it would take kind of more of the outlier week where I would actually, if I had to choose between the two, which in this case, it sounds like, you're just going to keep one and maybe dump one. But matchup wise, like you said, I think that it's probably Delpit. It leans more Delpit direction. Carolina is just tricky in that I don't exactly know what area people want to attack against him because they've been so bad in both areas, and there's subtle improvements lately. I think the offense probably helps out a little bit with that, with Bryce Young maintaining an offense a little bit. But again, like I said, I think Delpit, just considering if they were neck and neck to me, but they're separated in my rankings at least this week, and then I haven't looked every other week going forward, but probably at least by 7 or 8 spots, and so I'm leaning Delpit.
All right. Let's see here. He says also, I also earned Nick Herbig, but he'll be relegated back to on the bench when Highsmith is back next week. Yeah, assuming that Highsmith is back next week, I would agree with that. I secured a 1 week bye. Awesome. So should I drop Herbig for Grenard, Benito, or Cooper? My other DL is Andrew Van Ginkel.
Minnesota is the only team that I would actually consider having multiple players, with the success they've had. Which, speaking of that, with Andrew Van Ginkel, man, how good a year has he had? And it wasn't that long ago when, I blame you, Jorge, I blame you, is that you just piqued my interest enough about Dallas Turner that made me redirect my thoughts on Van Ginkel as far as, the sneaky upside defensive lineman of the year at the Expo. But at the same time, it was based on reasoning. And the reason why I would say Grenard might be my choice is, man, that Flores defense is just so good at getting the quarterback. And that's what you want out of those 3. And it's like, do you want to load up on the same team, or do you want to pivot to Benito or Cooper in that scenario?
I would be perfectly happy with both Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel. We see Grenard benefit from Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel does his thing, and so depending on your scoring, let's say, I guess. Well, let me put it like this: if you can handle one of your defensive linemen for the Vikings getting you like in the upper teens in fantasy points, and then your second defensive lineman getting you like 12 to 13 points, if that's okay with you, that's what you should roll with then. I think with Gennard and Andrew Van Ginkel.
Yeah, the matchups going forward, Arizona allows some pressures. Atlanta does. Chicago does. Seattle, 50-50. And then Green Bay for 17. So, a few of those games I could see multiple sack scenarios out of and get them from both. So, I'm right there with you. I'm leaning Gennard too.
So, good morning, Dave. How you doing, man?
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, buddy.
Morning.
I see with the hat and the sweatshirt. Is it a blistery 75 degrees where you're at right now, and that's why you're dressed up so warmly?
74. It's chilly.
You better be careful. That's how people get pneumonia.
It's a good question. I'll find out what temperature it is. I'll let you guys know in a second.
Can't wait, Dave.
Nate, you want this question while Dave gets ready?
Yeah, sure. Impossible this morning. Good morning. Half point PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Jay Jettas, Zay Flowers, JSN, then James Cook, Kyron Williams, Chase Brown, and Chuba. So let's start with the wide receivers. Of those 3, is Jefferson's probably going to be a must because you can't get don't want to get too cute, even though we know that at this point in the season, abort ADP, blah, blah, blah. It's still Justin Jefferson. So then it comes down to Zay and JSN. As far as rankings wise, Jorge, who do you have higher right now between those two?
Zay and JSN. Let me get to my rankings. I'm stalling. So this is for half PPR.
Yeah. It's
ranking. So I have Zay 17 and JSN at 19 currently.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's kind of, pick your. I do want to look up the cornerback situation really quick, Nate, while you keep going talking about this question over here. Yeah,
right. The Eagles are playing the Ravens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the Eagles have done a pretty good job of shutting down their number one. That is my concern of Zay Flowers. So, if it wasn't for the fact that it's the Eagles, I would say Flowers, but I'm leaning slightly JSN.
Yeah, the Eagles especially. It was man, I'm trying to think how many weeks ago, because if I was going to say it's been 4 weeks, it could be 7 at this point. Weeks seem to come together, but when they moved Cooper DeJean to slot, that really solidified that secondary for them. And here's maybe this is a crazy thought. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if Derrick Henry gets 24, 25 touches. It's going to be cold. They have a bye week next week, so workload, not that it's really ever been too big of a concern for Henry, but if I'm scheming, I could very easily see my team try to control the clock, keep the ball out of the Eagles' hands, and just pound Derrick Henry constantly. And if that's the case, then, obviously on the flip side, it's JSN versus the Jets, and the Jets have just been bad. So I think I'm going to lean JSN myself. It was a long-winded way of saying that. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Michael Carter, who would be the slot, Michael Carter II, who would be the slot corner for the Jets, over the past 4 weeks has graded really poorly, allowing 75% of the catches he's had on the season. No forced incompletions, just he's been bailed out by people dropping the ball, not him making plays on the ball. So yeah, I'd go JSN.
Gotcha. Now running back, between James Cook, Kyron, Chase Brown, and Chuba, Kyron is one for me that I say absolutely, because everybody's torched New Orleans run D. That's a given. The secondary question, the second one is a little more challenging between Cook and Chase Brown, for me at least. No offense, Chuba, but Dave, Jorge and I were talking earlier just with this Buffalo San Francisco game. If we don't think, we'd be foolish not to think the game's going to be more controlled on the ground than through the air. But I also don't know how the wind's going to be. In these snow games, I'm just as guilty as thinking, oh, they won't throw the ball. Well, if it's not windy, you can still throw the ball. I mean, if anybody, the receiver has a better chance of staying upright than the secondary does, because he at least has an idea where he's going to be running the route. But does that pivot? Does that mean that James Cook is the choice over Chase Brown? Or because I'm leaning Chase Brown.
I'd go Chase Brown. These snow games tend to be slower. They're not really as explosive, if you will. So you typically don't see like a break-off run for 80 yards or something, just because they're trying to battle the conditions, right? So I'm not expecting big chunk plays. For that reason, I'm leaning Chase Brown. The $1 million. So Kyrie and Chase are my givens. The flex is where I'm struggling, to be honest with you. So I don't know if you throw back in Flowers, if you go Chuba, that's a tough one. I think, gun to my head, I'm going to throw Flowers in the flex.
Jorge?
I would go, this is half PPR. I would go Jefferson, JSN, Kyron, and Chuba. I'm all aboard the Chuba bandwagon. I'm not about to jump off right now.
Yeah, what about the flex?
Yeah.
Chase Brown, sorry.
Okay. And I mean, I'm right there with you, Dave. I think I like Zay in that scenario, but it all signs in my mind, in my head and everything really is like, I want to believe they're going to run Derrick Henry to stay with the narrative, but I think the better chance for upside is Flowers there too. Even though I don't dislike Chuba Jorge, Tampa always still scares me against running backs for some reason. Even though I know they haven't been the same Tampa team as they've been over the years versus the run, but something about that. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm getting older and I stuck in my ways, but they're middle of the pack, so they're better than expected.
I mean, they allowed the 12th most fantasy points to running back, so it's not like you're saying these are top 10, not top 5. But I mean, they're pretty favorable. But I can understand. I get where you're going with that situation there.
Yeah.
All right, let's get. Will has another IDP question. I'm thinking of dropping Tyrese Knight for cash for the rest of the season since I haven't faced. Yeah, I think I would do that too. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I would too.
Dave, you want to take this one?
PPR need 1 Shakir, Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Chubb. Chubb has been inconsistent. I know he fell into the end zone twice last week, but I need some sort of reliability there. TJ Hawkinson has just been looking great. I mean, Donald is looking at Addison, JJ, and TJ Hawkinson. They're the only 3. So I like out of them. I think I'm leaning towards Hawkinson for consistency. Addison, you're really relying on a big play. That's the only issue there. Shakir's as we discussed with the conditions and the fact that there's a lot of mouths to feed there, I'm not leaning towards Shakir. So it's probably Addison, TJ Hawkinson. I'm slightly going TJ Hawkinson, but you could convince me to go Addison.
Yeah, I do. I really have been impressed with Hawkinson. I know last week was a product of the fact that the secondary of the Bears really funnels everything away from them. But Hawkinson, has he played 4 weeks now? Has been heavily targeted. It's hard. What's that?
I was going to say, one of the things that kind of helped him, had been hurting his fantasy output up until last week, was the fact that Josh Oliver, the backup tight end, had been getting some play for the Vikings, and then last week he was out, and so therefore saw just the like you said, the funneling of the targets to Hawkinson. And I just checked right now the injury report, and Oliver is again out today. So, again, that consistency with Dave that you were just talking about, I could see that popping up again today.
Let's do it. Let's go Hawkinson. That probably not the answer. I would say that when you ask a question like that, including Hawkinson in there, to expect to get the tight end answer is tricky because everybody wants to just shit on tight end as a position as a whole, which I get, but he's been, I wish I had it in front of me so I could actually say it with confidence as far as where he would be specifically versus other wide receiver, ranked amongst wide receivers over the last 3 weeks, but I don't want to start researching it right now. So, but I have to assume he'd be a wide receiver 3 over the last 4 weeks by comparison.
Well, the last 3 weeks, his targets have been 9, 4, and 9. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up here if you want me to. I can do that.
Do the research for me. You're like my the stat man.
Stat guy. There you go.
Yeah. You need it faster though, so I don't have to stall quite so much. But while you do that, I'll go to Frizzle's question. So good morning to you, by the way. Frizzle. He's picked 2 for a flex standard league. Xavier Legette, Pop Douglas, Alec Pierce, Calvin Austin. So let's see what the news on Pop Douglas is this morning. I saw he was questionable. I don't think he was set to miss the week, but I know it was worth paying attention to. And let's see why we have his. Looks like he's should be good to go. Don't love the matchup necessarily as much, but Alec Pierce is intriguing because no Josh Downs, and we know that if there's one recipient as far as beneficial deep ball by AR is going to be Alec Pierce. Question, Jorge, of course, $1 million question is: do you want to go for the big boom play, which for Alec Pearson in a standard league, I'm good with, because I mean I'm not looking for the 7-8 targets. Question is it Xavier Legette or Alec Pierce? That's my two that I'm choosing that I would take. Do you see it other ways? And if that's the case, then we're gonna have Dave be the tiebreaker.
To quickly go back, he is the receiver 39, TJ Hawkinson.
Close.
It's almost there.
Almost there.
Fizzle, what's going on? Hello. Let's see here. 2 for flex. I would go. Here's the thing. Who's more of a home run threat, Alec Pierce or Calvin Austin as of late with the Steelers there? Now, was that I need to pull up all the Austin's stats here. Was that just an isolated incident there?
Austin
but,
bothers me.
I'd go Legette, definitely in this situation.
Because I just can't trust Austin. I mean, with one game of 6 or more targets on the season, a couple 5s, spread out. For the most part, really, 3 to 4 targets. He needed that, the one explosive play last week, but he's had 2 weeks above a wide receiver 50 on the season, or 3, I guess. I don't know. That just seems way too inconsistent. And Boomer Busty is there, but at least Alec Pierce being the number 2 option there, or maybe 1, because Michael Pittman hasn't exactly impressed me enough to show that he's worthy of the 1 there. So that's my 2 choices: Legette and Pierce. You going Austin or not?
No, I'm going to go Pierce as well.
Picking the same.
Look at us.
Summer, what's up, Summer? Summer always brings these awesome IDP questions. I love it. Need 1 defensive lineman out of Lodge Kansas, Carl Granderson. I'll tell you, tugging at the heartstrings here with the Carl Granderson question, or Keon White. For me, even though he's an interior player, it's still Kansas for me. Let me pull up his some of his advanced metrics here while we're talking, because he's just been the guy that's just been on fire. Tampa.
I like Keon White, so this is the dual heartstring tug, because I want to lean Keon White every week just because I know what that upside can be, but in reality, it's not as simple as that, and Summer knows that. Dave, I don't know if you know that. I was more like talking to you, giving you IDP, nuggets of information so that you can answer these questions, so I don't have to anymore and feel bad if I give the wrong answer. But
I can even tell you what teams they play for.
It's all right.
Patriots, which you should feel ashamed about because he's a Patriot.
Yep. How dare you?
Damn.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So Fantasy Pros scoring over here since he's come back from injury or suspension. I don't really know. Don't really care. Since week 6, Kansas 12 points, 8.54, 16-20. Had a bye week 11 last week versus the Giants, 13.5. And he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sacks during that period. You look at his tackle numbers, all with the exception of 2, everything else has been solo tackles. So he's getting you the most important tackles that you want. He's getting you, sack reduction here, and the fantasy points just seem to follow him. So yeah, I'm all aboard Team Kansas.
I'm not taking Kansas. I want Keon White, even though I know it's not the smart. It's actually the bad move. Keon White's he's had 1 sack in the last 12 games or 11 games. So yeah, go Kalijah Kansas.
There we go.
Look at us. That hurts.
Yeah. Card Chisel. I don't know why I had that upward inflection. It just felt like great to say it. Texans or Broncos defense this week?
The defense. So
I'm going Broncos, man. Just like in Zoolander, Hansel's looking so hot right now.
Right.
The Broncos are looking hot. The younger people won't get that reference. They probably haven't watched Zoolander.
Although they watched Zoolander too, they just haven't watched the original.
Oh,
Hold on,
I
there's a
watched it.
Zoolander 2?
Yeah, no. As far as you know, there's not.
I don't want to watch it, man. There's so many
Don't.
films are ruined by sequels. I just keeping a classic a classic. Just leave it there.
We went and saw Gladiator 2, which was surprise,
Oh,
which
good.
is enjoyable. It's
Okay.
it's not movies like that. If you have a sequel, I feel like as long as there's reason and it's within the realm of similarities that it just it's not direct to. I was just say direct to tape, which doesn't mean anything to anybody else anymore. But yes, I would definitely say watch it. I would also definitely say that I'm going to lean Denver, just because if anything, we know there's two, death, taxes, Jameis Winston, turnovers. We know that's bound to happen, even though he did, like in his first game, didn't have one. But the Texans are second, they're really close. I think they're one of my top 3 or 4 options this week too. But I just have to trust in the pressure that the Broncos should be able to exert on Cleveland's offensive line, plus the turnovers, the 2 keys for picking a defense right there.
Well, let's put this to, if anyone's watching right now, what is a series where the number 2 movie was better than 1? I can only think of one example. That's Terminator. I think Terminator 2 is better than Terminator 1.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else
I
comment
agree.
in the internet land out there?
Many say The Godfather 2 was better than the first. I think that's kind of the if there was a second,
I
and
can see that. All right.
and Lost Pawn is 100% correct, in my opinion, at least. I think Empire is the best of all of them.
I'll say Wrath of Khan for Star Trek, definitely better than the first one.
Mute.
What?
I don't know. Is Wrath of Khan where they eat the cockroaches or whatever that is?
No, it's not.
Charlene. Oh, Home Alone 2. Rachel says. Good choice. That's my sister and I think my wife actually.
Home Alone 2. That's a good. I don't know. Is it better than the classic? I'd say it's on par.
I think being on par is for sequels is almost saying it's better,
true.
at least equally
That's
good.
true.
I'll take equally good because, and Frozen 2 I haven't seen, so
Frozen 2 is good. Frozen 2 is good.
I don't have
I
the
got 2 daughters, so I've seen Frozen 1 and 2 God knows how many times.
Jorge, guess what? Here in a few years, you will be the preeminent cartoon and animation guru of the group, and I can't wait to, ask your opinion.
Yeah, get used to cartoons, Jorge. It's going to be the bane of your existence.
Yeah, get used to them.
No, honestly, I enjoy it at the start, but when you hit the stage where 80-90% of what you see on the TV is cartoons, I erupt every now and then and say, just put a movie with real people. I don't want to see animations. I don't care what it is. Just put real people on there.
I have been watching Dragon Ball Z on the regular, so there's technically a cartoon.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Carchizzle says Shrek 2. I don't have a problem with that either. And
that's a good point.
Zootopia 2. Do we have to talk football anymore? Can we just talk?
Let's talk about the rest of the day. This is fantastic. I love this.
Well, here, you know what? Of this situation, Ryan, good morning to you. Justin Herbert, or you can pick up Stafford or CJ Stroud. This season has been where the sequel of the season or the second half has been better than the first for Justin Herbert, where he's really, really been, dynamite. That being said, the opposite can be spoken about CJ Stroud, where he's really kind of fallen off. But I don't think there's a better week for CJ Stroud, managers, owners, or enthusiasts to see. Jacksonville is just set up. Last time they played, 350 and 2 or 3. That was without Mixon, without Tank Dell. Do you drop Herbert for Stroud?
No.
You're talking to the second biggest fan of Herbert behind Jim Harbaugh. So
congratulations.
I'm always gonna go Herbert. I mean, and he's looking hot right now. So why would you move away? The only thing that worries me is losing J.K. Dobbins, because that check down option was so huge for him. I don't think Gus Edwards or Vidal, whatever his name is, are that guy. So I do worry that they're going to have to throw the ball deep a bit too much. That's my concern.
Well, as long as he doesn't have to throw it to Quentin Johnson,
Oh,
and I mean, every deep ball to Josh Palmer was worthless. That's the only reason why I would go Stroud, is I have trust in the receivers much more than I have in the Chargers. But I won't disagree with you guys completely. We'll let him make that decision. Blurpy, though, has a more of a running back question. Start off, is Nick Chubb or Travis Etienne, or do you pivot and look to waivers, which I don't know anybody on waivers that I would rather start. Even with Nick Chubb's inconsistency, I would still rather have Chubb over really anybody that's on the waiver wire myself. Even though Denver's a tough matchup, I just feel like, I mean, he's going to get the workload.
Yeah.
I would go Chubb.
You can't trust Travis Etienne. Just can't do it.
That was Baker coming back full strength today. So
yeah.
And then he has a DST part of this question. He or she has a DST part of this question. Texans, Colts, or Jets D. It's I would take the Colts here. In this situation versus New England.
Yeah, I have the Texans pretty high in my
right
against Jacksonville.
Yeah, I guess it's flip a coin with those, right?
It just to determine which Trevor Lawrence you're gonna get. Like, I just don't. I don't have that much faith in Trevor Lawrence, to be honest. But it's I still
not the
trust.
Jets D. I think it's 50-50 Texans and Colts. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll lean Texans.
Okay. Texans it is. Also, he says Ryan is back saying also Bills, Commanders, Bucks, or Colts.
Holy crap. How many defenses you got, bro?
My guess is those are waiver pickup options.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I like the Bills. I mean, if the Bills are there, that makes sense to me.
I mean, the matchup is between the weather and if you can contain McCaffrey, I don't see them doing much to you.
I mean, McCaffrey has been contained. What do you mean if you can? It's a proven science right now. I mean, he's not been Christian McCaffrey, and I get it. I mean, he's playing at 90%.
I will always leave the caveat as long as you can contain grit. But I do understand and I agree with you. It's not been the McCaffrey of old, but that's got to be their motivator, their factor to stop, because not scared by the passing game necessarily myself, but I don't have a problem with the Bills. Oh, and you know what? Actually, interesting point there. Matt Milano returns tomorrow night, which is a huge upgrade for that
tonight,
defense.
Right? So,
I mean tonight, yeah. Sorry, I don't know what day it is anymore.
Hey, John's in the chat saying, "Hey, fellas, hope everything is well. Same to you. Need to flex your state. Taysom Hill, Demario Douglas, Najee, and lastly, David Njoku." Oh man, Najee was such a good hot streak for so long, and then all of a sudden he just kind of dropped off. So he's kind of out there. So
crazy to say Taysom Hill?
No, you can't. No, you're not at all.
It really comes out of the tight ends, right?
I just feel like Taysom Hill can go off for $150 and $2. If you need up, here's what I would put a caveat. Say if you're just looking for stable points, maybe get you like 10 to 15 Najee Harris. If you need upside, I go Taysom Hill. I don't think Demario Douglas and Njoku are solid options, but to me, it's between those two. Harris is boring, safe, but Hill is upside.
Hill's extreme upside. I mean, I hate that I even am contemplating, not wanting to start Taysom Hill because I fear the worst, but I don't know what the worst is anymore, because
he can run, he can throw, he can catch. I mean
38 And granted, yes, this is the up and down dichotomy of Taysom Hill. 38 1 week, 5 the next, 14, 2, 14. So, I mean,
that's a risk you run with Taysom Hill.
That's exactly right.
His floor is 0. That's the thing. His floor is 0, but I don't know. I like the upside.
I do too. And I don't think the ceiling for Demario Douglas is 30. I don't think the ceiling for Njoku is 30, even though Njoku, it might be higher without Cedric Tillman this week, which is interesting for that, but again, the matchup just isn't great. So yeah, Taysom Hill is the answer for me as well.
All right. Michael's here asking for next week with Lamar. Who's the A next week with Lamar on bye? I don't understand.
So basically, who's he looking? He needs to pick up one of these quarterbacks because Lamar's going to be on a bye next week, and so it's 0.5 point per completion, 6 point passing touchdown, between Carr, Geno Smith, Caleb Williams, Jameis Winston, Anthony Richardson. The 0.5 point is enough. Colby and I had even talked about this in another scenario where we're looking at the completion. I think it was like a 0.25 completion, which you would really need 10 more completions than someone else to make a significant impact as far as point wise. But in a 0.5 point, now you're talking the 10 extra completions is basically equivalent to almost a touchdown. So you know what though? I don't have the matchups in front of me. So
the one thing I would say is this is the stage of the season. You have to consider weather. So if those guys, and I haven't found out who they're playing against.
Okay.
I'm looking for, if I'm streaming quarterbacks, I'm looking for a dome. I'm looking for warm weather, and ideally both. If you can play in like LA, for example, that's perfect. So that's what I'm looking for now. I mean, the Buffalo San Fran game is probably the perfect example, right? Yeah, you're sitting there going, "Oh, Josh Allen." Like, yeah, are we expecting him to throw the ball a ton? Probably not. I don't think Josh Allen finishes the week as the top 5, quarterback.
Well, here's the scenarios then. So you have Caleb Williams at San Francisco. With the amount of pressure that the 49ers, if they get Bosa back next week, has me worried. And I know that even with the new OC, now a new head coach, Caleb Williams has actually looked better than he did. So, but the matchup on the road, maybe not favorable. Seattle travels to Arizona inside, Dave.
There we go.
Cardinals defense.
Inside, warm. I love it.
I would actually agree with you right there. The only other scenario is Jameis in Pittsburgh, rival game on the road. I would think that would lean me away from Jameis. And then last but not least, who was the other option? Carr.
Oh, sorry.
No, and that's in New York on the road against the Giants. I guess all of them are road games for the most part. They all are.
I'm loving Arizona. I just
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool.
Frizzle.
All right. Nope. Let's go to Joe.
Joe? Okay.
Joe has a question. Sorry, Frizzle. We'll get to you.
I thought we did that one, didn't we? Leggett, Pierce.
No. I'll get it right here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Joe.
Yes.
By the way, for those who are waiting for us to get to your question, if you need a question answered soon, do what Joe did and do one of our super chat subscribers here, and just we will put your question on screen as soon as it pops up. So thank you very much, Joe, for this. One spot left, PPR, Jennings, Shakir, or Dell.
I'm going the Dell laptop, man, because here's the thing. Yeah. Shakir I'm eliminating for the thing that we've repeated a million times. It's cold. We're not expecting them to air the ball out. Plus, way too many mouths to feed there in Buffalo. So could he have a big game? Possibly, but I'm not banking on it, right? It's really between Jennings and Tank Dell. And I expect a shootout. And I expect Dell to be on the receiving end of that. Jennings, same thing. That's the same game, actually. I should have thought of that. Jennings and Shakir, I'm not interested. I'm not interested too much in the Buffalo air game, San Fran air game. So for me, the easy answer is Dell.
Yeah, on Wednesday night on our Fourth and Frames, as one of my smash plays was Tank Dell this week. Obviously, it wasn't even against a matchup that was less than stellar as far as that Buffalo San Francisco game will be. But the Jags are second most passing yards allowed. They've allowed the second most touchdowns. They've basically been a funnel for all opposing passing him, which is why I mentioned picking up CJ Stroud, earlier for that matchup, because it's Jacksonville. They have Trevor Lawrence back. So there is a chance that maybe, exactly like you said, it definitely, it turns into a shootout. So they don't have to rely on Mixon nearly as much. And Stroud had 350 back in last time they played. I think Dell has the ability. We saw last week. It was pretty unfortunate that he didn't get more targets his direction, because he was destroying the secondary. When you watch his isolated all 22 film, Tank Dell still. Maybe it's week to week that he gets better and better, because the injuries to the lower body, take a little bit to recover. But I'm on favor. Jorge, is this a clean sweep? You going Tank Dell as well?
I'm going Nick Westbrook-Akini. That's who you should be starting out of all these options. I'm just kidding. But kind of not. Tank Dell, yeah.
Jorge, I know he scores touchdowns. I know that.
I hear that's important.
It is important. I would say the least sticky stat of every stat wide receiver can have is not the direction you want to go. If I only focused on one thing and I said, all right, let's look at receptions, which is important for a receiver to actually catch the ball. And I said, here's the last 7 games, receptions of 2, 2, 3, 5, 2, 2, 1. You would say, I don't want that guy. But if I said, all right, here, how about this for touchdowns? 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. You would say, I want that guy. Problem is, those are the same people. And it's.
I know. I'm aware.
Thanks. Appreciate you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Let's see here. Where do we leave off? Let's go to.
You actually had Bobby McNichol. I think his question was up there that I had you take down. So number 1, sorry, Bobby, and I'll get it for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a half-point PPR flex question. Jalen Warren, Keon Coleman, Jeremy McNichols, or Alec Pierce. Now, Bobby, it's easy to want to take Jeremy McNichols because, the last name, albeit from an S, is close. Brian Robinson being back, Jorge, you're the Commanders scenario here.
Love it.
Full workload?
Oh, yeah.
Less lightened workload? No? Okay, so.
If he's, they were not going to put him on that field if he's not ready to go. So he's ready to go. So for me, it comes down to, do you expect them to have to? Are we expecting the pass rush of Tennessee to get to Washington so much so that Jaden Daniels will have to check down to McNichols? I do not. Whereas I do think the pass rush of Cincinnati will make it difficult for Russell Wilson. Therefore, Jalen Warren will be more of a check down person today for the half PPR upside. So give me Jalen Warren in this situation.
How about you, Dave?
It's Pierce. Those guys is just high risk. I mean, I've got a league right now. Actually, I'll post it to you guys in a second. I've got a terrible RB2 situation, McNichols or Ray Davis. I lost Austin Eckler and J.K. Dobbins, unfortunately. So my concern with McNichols is that, even with Austin Eckler as the running back too, he wasn't putting up monster numbers. Jaden Daniel likes to run. And the ground game is just really run through Brian Robinson. Warren, you just don't know who's going to be the hot hand. I feel like in Pittsburgh, they play the hot hand approach. If Najee is on fire, they keep going with him. If he's not, they go Jalen Warren. So you're really running that risk. Pierce, at least you're getting 4 to 5 targets. I'll take that risk.
The one thing with Warren versus Najee is true. It doesn't shock me if the hot hand approach. The likelier scenario for me is that Warren gets the hot hand just because of his ability to have the explosive runs, and he's a little better with the ball in his hand. And last week was really the first time that since since he's returned, Warren played a season high 57% of the snaps. He had more red zone snaps than Najee for something worth noting. I don't know. I'm going to lean Jalen Warren as well, but it's close. So it's like we talked about Alec Pierce earlier, Dave, in that that scenario. I think the boom is there for Pierce, but I think the floor is Jalen Warren for me. Charlene is next up. Charlene, good morning, by the way, too. It's hopefully Charlene is not freezing cold in that 70 degrees that you guys are experiencing, that cold front right now. In the playoffs, congratulations, first and foremost. Projected to win by 6. I hate projections, but I'd rather be projected to win by 6 than lose by 6. Needs a flex play. Oh, Charlene.
This is a tough one.
I know. I'm already reading ahead, and if you're listening and you're not watching, you don't have to burn your eyes with this. But it's Javonte Williams, Jerry Jeudy, Ray McLeod, Noah Brown. It's full point PPR. It's also a quarter point per rush attempt, which you want to talk about not knowing what's going on in Pittsburgh running game. Try to identify and figure out what Denver's doing, because
That
they
was gonna be my
lead
point.
you. They trick you. It's like, here we go. Auto estimate day about a month ago. Then he gets no touches. Then Javonte has a big game, and then blah. But Jorge, Jerry Jeudy is, I say, against a tough secondary in Denver. No Cedric Tillman. We've seen him have some big games with Jameis.
Revenge game narrative. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Revenge game narrative. That's right.
that's the stickiest of all the stickiest stats.
Exactly. That always comes to fruition.
I know we don't. So for me, I'm going to say Javonte, and that's just because of the quarter point per rush attempt.
Don't be sold by the bonus, man. Just because the Happy Meal comes with a toy doesn't mean that it's good meal, right?
If it's a good toy, I mean, you have to take that into consideration.
I don't know, man. Just because I can see Javonte getting 8 carries for 12 yards and no touchdowns. I don't know. That scares me. I feel like it's too risky going Javonte Williams. For me, it's like Jeudy or McLeod is the only one. I always say never trust a man with a woman's name, but Judy's looking good right now. And we know Jameis Winston, he's back to old form, airing the ball out. I mean, gun to my head, Jeudy. The thing I like about McLeod is that it's, as I said before, warm weather game, but a lot of mouths to feed there. I think I'm leaning Jeudy, but not by a ton. Can't trust Noah Brown because he's too hot cold.
Right.
He'll either go for $120 and 2 touchdowns, or he'll get you 1 catch for 5 yards.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jeudy as well, only because I didn't realize it was so dire in the rushing attempts for the Javonte, and that over the last 3 weeks combined, he's had 18 rush attempts, which turns into 4.5 points. So
offset too much right there. Yeah.
Not really, not enough. That's it's 4 shitty throws to Jerry Jeudy by Jameis, but at the same time, that was worth noting. So Charlene, we're gonna say Jerry Jeudy, and it's Monday night, so you get a hopefully you don't have to worry about it. You're up by 10, and we'll say 20. That's how much we think we trust in you. So Untamed Music, what's up, man? He has half point PPR between MHJ, Tank Dell. Man, both.
Is this really a question?
Man, I think it is.
What?
Why? Oh man, like I get. It's easy to want to say the first round Marvin Harrison.
You're overanalyzing if you're not thinking about starting Marvin Harrison Jr. Way too much, right? I know we love statistics, and that's the point of this show. But sometimes you got to stick with the classics. If I go to a steakhouse, I'm not ordering the fish. I'm ordering the steak. Go with Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the number one there. He's talented. It's a warm weather game. He gets multiple targets a game. Tank Dell, I mean, that's a flex question, you know. MHJ is easy answer for me.
But to say that Marvin Harrison Jr. has been a steak in a steakhouse, it's been a gristly fat steak that you've gotten.
It's
you've
a skirt
overpaid
steak.
for.
It's the skirt steak.
Yeah, but you're paying ribeye prices
Fair
for the
enough.
skirt steak.
All right.
But I'm also going to say it's Marvin Harrison Jr. for the sole reason of if you can attack the Minnesota Vikings defense, you do it through the air. And that is the bit. Honestly, even if it wasn't Minnesota, I'd probably lean Marvin Harrison. But I do think it's closer than that. Even though Tank Dell's been disappointing, I see the upside for both. Like the upside against Jacksonville is really, really good. The upside against Minnesota is really, really good too. So
here's what it comes down to. I lose a match and I play MHJ over Dell. I live with it. I go, you know what? I made the smart move. I play Tank Dell and I lose, and MHJ goes off for 130 yards and 3 touchdowns. I struggle sleeping at night.
I actually do the same thing. I use that same analogy. I think it's probably poor process, but we both agree with that. So then by that rationale, it's solid process.
Last week I lost a matchup because I could have put TJ Hawkinson over Brock Bowers, but you're just not going to do that if you have Brock Bowers, right? So you go, okay, it sucks, but I can live with it. I made the gut call smart move.
I know. I look at Marvin Harrison's week to week, and I see the 2 games that really stand out. And this is, I don't know why we're still on this because we both said Marvin Harrison Jr., but I would really like to see more than 2 weeks out of 10 or out of 11 that he's had more than 70 yards receiving. And he hasn't. He's only had two games with more than 70. But trust the matchup. It's going to be great. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to do good. Summer also needs one out of the following here for IDP, Jorge. Levante David, Tyrese Knight. Dave's like, who the Levante? He's like,
this
okay,
you to go grab a coffee. I'll be back.
Exactly. He's like, she must mean Javante. Tyrese Knight. Don't know who that. Jordan Hicks or Jerome Baker. Jorge.
All right, so it's going to be Tyrese Knight for me. Jordan Hicks, not exactly a stat patter consistently. We go to Jerome Baker. When they got rid of Ernest Jones in Tennessee, they got rid of they got rid of an off-ball linebacker for a coverage linebacker, and that's what Jerome Baker is. Kenneth Murray, we saw him kind of return to form as that run stuffing, tackling linebacker last week. So yeah, give me Tyrese Knight. Levante David, his last 3 weeks haven't been super impressive. Whereas Tyrese Knight has been the LB18 in fantasy pro points per game. So give me Tyrese Knight here.
There you go. Oops, my bad. NMB wants to know. Oh, sorry. Yep, there you go. I'll do it.
Let's do this one first. God damn it. I can find it. Go.
Hey, we did it at the same time. That's perfect. So then now will we agree on the same answer here in Drake May or Brock Purdy?
Oh, it's May. It tends to be May. Yeah.
I would agree. I get the, in a vacuum, it's probably Purdy over May many of the weeks, but not in this particular scenario that we've laid out 1,000,001 times now with the weather being a deterrent, which means it's probably going to be 42 to 35, and everybody in that matchup's going to be big. But still, how about on the defensive side? Seattle or Arizona? We've talked over the year, when you're picking a defense, obviously you want turnovers and sacks, and Arizona doesn't really deliver much in the way of either of those two. So, Seattle. Yeah. Gotcha. I'll let you grab the next one there. Alex wants to know KW3 or Devontae Adams in a full point PPR. This is always a tricky for me.
It's Kenneth Walker. I mean, I don't trust Aaron Rodgers.
I don't either.
It's crazy to say that this is a tough question. You know,
No.
if I told you this at the start of the year, I would have, it would have been obvious that we go Devontae Adams, right? But I don't know, man. I've got Adams in a bunch of leagues, and I even have struggles playing him as a wide receiver too.
Mm-hmm. I do too. No, I have him down as my wide receiver 30 on the week. And hell, even going into the season, I don't know if it would have been that difficult or that easy of an answer, just because Devontae in that situation beforehand, if you said, hey, he's going to be with the Jets in week 13, then yeah, I probably would have said, all systems go. But while the Jets, speaking of, just their defense, as much as they should on paper be as dominant as we would think, they really haven't. It seems like they've, dare I say, kind of given up on the season on both sides of the ball, just relegating, thinking, hey, you know what? We lose a couple more games. Now we get a top, 5, 6, 7 pick. I know that no player really wants to say that, admit that, nor will they probably actually do it, but it's probably on the mind just enough. All right, Will.
So this is a scenario where I would take somebody in this cold weather game and give me Josh Allen. This type of weather was made for big quarterbacks like this guy to run the ball.
I agree there too, and I know this will be the interesting one for you, Dave. I mean, it's 2-1 Allen over Herbert. Now you can say Herbert, and I wouldn't, shit on you for it, but can you lean Herbert? Will you join the dark side of Josh Allen in the cold?
Give me the love bug. Give me Herbie, fully loaded. Let's go.
Another reference people will not get.
Look, if this was switched and Allen was somewhere, I just hate that weather. That weather just reeks of running the ball. And Josh Allen is obviously the more talented quarterback. I'm not denying that. That weather scares me. I understand he can still air the ball out, but you're talking about, are we really expecting 350 yards and 4 touchdowns? I don't know, man. I think they especially if they get a lead, they're just running that rock.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
I expect them to get the lead as well. I don't think San Fran puts a competitive game up. I think the Bills are going to be up by a couple of touchdowns, and it's just going to be James Cook, Davis, or whoever wants to feast on that team.
Yeah.
All right. Next question.
Mega Brick wants to know. So full point PPR. It's 12 man. It's a redraft league. He's or she's 6-6. Must win game. Over half the team played already. Yahoo has it 50-50. Need big points for my last 3 players because it sounds like either on Thursday or Friday didn't quite get the production that
was a huge monologue, by the way.
I like intense monologues.
That's good.
It was like the Chronicles of Narnia monologue. Come on, man.
Well, perfect. So the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe might have been Jahmyr Gibbs letting them down and going from there. So with that being said, full point PPR. They're 6-6. They need to win. Cade Otton, Hunter Henry. I have been a Cade Otton fan all year, and I still am. With
Henry's been hot. Henry has
been so good too,
and he gets looked at all the time. Look, what's his target share? Do you guys have that info available? What's Henry's targets been since Drake May has come in?
If going into last week, unfortunately, when it wasn't the best weeks, but he was 6th amongst tight ends in targets, like 5th in yards. He was the guy there.
I mean, for tight ends, it's kind of hard to pass up, right? It's closer than I am letting on, but I think I'm just taking a nudge over to the Henry side.
I will say that Carolina gives up the most fantasy points to the tight end position. So this is
they do
a design. For me, it was pretty easy, and I get it, and I get what you're saying. Hunter Henry has been the go-to guy for Drake May in this offense, but at the same time, the matchup is just too good here, and we know no Chris Godwin, no other receiver outside of Mike Evans. Otten is just the other guy. Is just the other guy the target.
And I think last
Sterling
week
Shepard isn't selling him.
No Jalen McMillan. No, I think that there's recency bias, or for me too, going in because of last week with Otten. I was so high on trusting that having Mike Evans back won't do anything to hurt his workload, because he went without them 10 targets, 11 targets, 8 targets to catching one ball. And I don't know if that was the Mike Evans effect or that was just them getting up so big against the Giants that it didn't matter. I will say this. I lean Hunter Henry, but I actually have Cade Otton higher in my rankings by 2 spots. So take that for what it's worth.
And then there's a follow. Follow here. Nope, we actually do not have a follow-up question. This is from Manning.
Yep.
Should I drop Cade Otton for Jonnu Smith? So, and Jonnu Smith has been tearing it up lately, right? If we go back to week 11, 8 targets, then 11 targets, in PPR we're talking. And then 100 yards, 87 yards, 113, 3 touchdowns, and PPR points we're talking 28.1, 23.7. This past Thursday, 21.3. You see that and you're just like, hell yeah, give me all of that offense. But the problem is, here's the thing. These technically on paper should be difficult matches versus the Jets, versus the Texans, versus the 49ers in weeks 14, 15, and 16. Those defenses don't exactly scare me anymore. I don't know whether this is a situation where, you look at season-long numbers and old projections where it's like saying like this should be a tough matchup, but I don't think it is. And to be honest with you, the way that McDaniel has Jonnu incorporated into this offense, I would be okay with that, to be honest with
you. What about you, Dave? I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, he's been looking good the last few weeks. I mean, I can live with it. I can live with it. I mean, I don't think it's an obvious one. I wouldn't just smash the drop button, but
right,
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, let's go to Mega Brick is back. Full PPR start one: Drake London, Juwan Jennings, Pittman, Judy, or Vele. Vele.
No.
There we go. I'm just kidding. I would go Drake London. And
I would too.
But Vele's on. Yeah. Okay. Let's get the next one. I'm at 90 points, and my opponent is at 20. But his only player that played well was the Dallas defense. That's funny. Well, defense matters. What can I say?
Got 20 points out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, pick 6 helped. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So that explains some of the does it change any of the previous answers as far as since you're comfortable, or well, maybe not. 20 versus 90, 70 points over 4 or 5 people. I don't think it changes any of my answers. I'm not looking at complete floor or complete ceiling given the scenario. So stick with what we had done there. You're going to go to 7 and 6, and then you're cruising into the playoffs.
There you go. Okay, let's go here to Charlene. PPR, need a flex, MVS, Bigsby, Vele. Projected to lose by 4. Trying to make a push for the playoff these next 2 weeks. Currently out of it.
Well, so let's go with.
I like Vele. He's been definitely more incorporated into this passing offense for Denver. That being the case, Bigsby. If there's a way I could keep both on my roster, like I'm hoping this is not a situation where you have to pick up one and drop one. Bigsby coming back, reports are he should be at full strength today. We'll get a good idea of what it's going to be like in the situation where he's going against, where the Jaguars are going against teams that should be dominating that rest of season. And if he's incorporated into the passing game and kind of just taking over completely like he was with, Bigsby, then I think that's a if Etienne was there. Going forward, I think it'd be Bigsby. But for today, I think I'm going Bailey here.
See, I'm going MVS, and just for the reason that she needs to make playoffs, so she needs potential big play. You're either it's go big or go home time, and MVS has shown that he can break off a 70-yard touchdown run, no problem. So I'm taking the risk, knowing that the floor of MVS is 0, but his upside is huge.
Yeah, the Rams have been pretty susceptible to the deep pass. His past 2 weeks, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 22. So we know the upside is there. I think that, Bailey is definitely I don't know if I should say definitely the safer pick. I would say that I feel he's the safer pick, but I think MVS is the one that has the potential to put up, 25 on 2 deep passes. The Rams, to back that up, the 12th most deep passing yards allowed, 4th highest deep pass adjusted completion rate. So reaffirms. I hate even admitting that I would choose MVS, just so you guys know. I don't feel good about it. I might need to take 5 minutes to myself, but that's where we're at.
All right. Gypsy Pop 6 in the chat. Back to IDP. I have Cameron Bynum starting. Is that good, or bench him and start Tavai Eisen or Garrett Williams instead? So, man, there was a point last year where all 3 safeties, Harrison Smith, Bynum, and Metellus, could all be played week in and week out because a lot of them played closer to the line of scrimmage. The issue here in recent weeks, though, is that even though his snap percentages have gone higher, meaning Bynum's over Metellus's, Bynum has been playing more in deep safety and playing more in coverage, and he's playing less amount of snaps closer to the line of scrimmage, trying to get you those easy tackle numbers. And you're kind of banking on interception or a pass deflection or some type of pass play tackling situation here. So I would bench him. I would bench him if I had the option to bench him. But that being the case, given the options here that you have with Tavai Eisen or Garrett Williams, I would play him, but I would temper my expectations.
Fair enough.
Let's see here. George, what's up, George? Welcome back. Why do I feel like this Texas Jags game is a trap for Mixon and Nico Collins? Because you're just as paranoid as each and every single one of us, George.
Exactly. I have Nico's my wide receiver 1 on the week, and Mixon is my, I think, RB 6 or 5. Let's see. He's my RB3. So if it's a trap game, then yeah, I will be way wrong. But then again, I think that's what everybody probably has, very similar to those rankings, just because. So let's hope it's not, unless you're playing against them. Hey, Stacy.
So Stacy, Zach Charbonnet or Javonte? I think we talked about Javonte earlier, just how what is it over the past 3 weeks? He's only had 18 touches combined. So
Charbonnet's not been.
He's not been great either, right? These are not elite options here. But
man, I as much as I feel like there's a clear path to Javonte touches, albeit if it's at least in the receiving game. Shockingly, Javante's been more usable in the passing game than Charbonnet has over the last couple weeks. But
Charbonnet got 2 goal line carries last week. Now, albeit he didn't find the end zone, but they're giving him the rock on the goal line. So I like the upside of him falling into the end zone.
The question for me, though, is, well, I like that. Do I like the idea of him running into Quinnen Williams in the center of the defensive line for the Jets at the goal line, thinking that he will get through, that's the problem right there. So you're getting more of the same that you got last week, even though you're getting the attempts. Or do you go with, Javonte Williams and the POS performance that he's been putting up this year? That being the case, I still go Sharps, but hoping that he gets more receiving work in this matchup, which is secondary for the Jets has not been great. So, yeah. So, Nate, you said Javonte. I'm saying Sharps. And then, Dave, who are you going to go with?
I'm going Charbonnet just because I'm relying on him falling in the end zone. And getting a little bit of receiving work.
There you go, Stace. Good luck.
Let's see here. Purdy is George is back here in the chat. Purdy is officially playing. Yes, he is. Do I stick with the Bills defense? Yeah. What is he going to do in blizzard conditions? Nothing. He's not going to do anything. I say that right, and then he goes off for like 24 points, and it's like, well, QB1 performance from
right. Yeah, it's.
Yeah. But sticking with the Bills defensive pick, I think we're going to stick with that. Ricardo, need one. Brian Thomas Jr. or Garrett Wilson? Give me the rookie. Give me Brian Thomas. Play catch up, garbage time points.
Really?
Against Houston? You don't think Houston's going to go up so much?
I mean, it's Garrett Wilson, though, right? I mean, you don't have any faith in that talent?
I have faith. I don't have faith in the person giving him the ball.
Still Garrett Wilson. I don't know. I struggle to put Thomas Jr. over Garrett Wilson. Yeah, it's the old, what would you have more regrets doing?
Yeah.
Your number one pick in the draft, late round, first round or early second, or Brian Thomas Jr.? I don't know, dude.
Yeah, try to look at all the factors that could dictate potential outlier weeks or, down weeks as a whole. And would it shock me if Trevor Lawrence takes a hit, goes down on that left shoulder, doesn't finish the game, and then you're stuck with Mac Jones for the second half and it turns into an easy Garrett Wilson answer? I think it's closer than I would like to admit, but I have Garrett Wilson by a full 9 spots in rankings. So I guess that says I'm leaning Garrett Wilson, even though I don't love the Jets situation.
Hold on, you're saying Mac Jones? You mean Trevor Lawrence? He's playing this week.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, but he's
Trevor
saying
Lawrence.
If he falls on his shoulder and Mac attack, you don't want the Mac attack in there. That's not good for anyone. It's not good for life in general.
Right. It's a pain tolerance scenario for Trevor Lawrence this week, more so than anything. I mean, re-aggravation of the injury. But if you saw him in the press conference and you looked at him, his shoulder, you saw that that AC joint was elevated out. And long story with that whole thing is that they're thinking that if he does take a fall on that left side, that it could cause him to have to leave the game. I hate looking at such minute details making a decision, but that's going on in my head. And I'm thinking, if I have to make a decision, not that, it couldn't happen to Aaron Rodgers, but the likelihood is that it's Garrett Wilson, the safer play.
Ismail, what's going on? Playing Hunter Henry, and I just picked up Disley. My quarterback is Herbert, but Kraft is on waivers. Looking at a schedule, whether Kraft might be better next week against the Lions. Thoughts? 12-point PPR. I want to say, I forget who was it last week, whether it was Colby or Keith, and we were talking about Tucker Kraft and how it's like, oh yeah, Tucker Kraft, he's with the wasteland at tight end, and he had good averages and points per game if you look over the past month. But then it's like, well, look at the blow up games and look at the rest of the performances there. I would rather have Hunter Henry or Disley as my starting tight end and Tucker Kraft going forward, regardless of schedule, just because I've seen them do it more consistently.
Yeah, it's.
I feel like Disley's going to get more involved now with Dobbins out, so I think they're going to go for some more intermediary routes, and don't be surprised if Disley gets more involved.
Yeah, he's been to date pretty. For the most part, pretty involved. He is. Granted, they haven't been all huge games like he had in week 11, but weeks 11 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets last week. But yeah, and week 14 matchup for Disley is the Chiefs. And while I hate to use the Chiefs as being like a kicking bag for tight ends, it has been beneficial over the year so far. So I'm sticking with Disley with Hunter Henry being on the bye next week. But play Hunter Henry this week is what I would say too. Good. Oh, Charlene. So many flex questions, and I don't blame you one bit because these are all the questions that I would have myself. Her specifically is this: Brian Thomas Jr., James Cook, Taysom Hill. The scoring is 3/4 of a point per reception, 1/4 of a point per rush attempt. It's a 10-team league. She's in 9th with the most points scored, of course. That's the way that always works. That's why, Charlene, if there's anything you can, I would say, try to petition is have the median scoring, because then you would be in, 3rd place, 4th place, or whatever, and all would be good. But that's not the case. So, guys, we need some points here. So then, Brian Thomas Jr. we talked a little bit about earlier. James Cook we've talked about earlier. Taysom Hill we've talked about earlier. Do you want to attack the ceiling or the floor in this scenario, or is there a difference between these three guys? Is either of those answers, floor or ceiling?
The floor is James Cook. James,
Yes.
if you're looking for stability, it's James Cook, right?
I want you to become a lineup out of these guys, to be honest with you.
I think I'm right there with you. Even though I do see the Taysom Hill, especially considering he has a chance to contribute both, but so does James Cook. James Cook is more than capable of having the same amount of rushing it or receptions. I don't know why I said it like that, but receptions. It's Fixins. You ever watch that? Eastbound and Down?
Yeah.
The Fixins. Sorry.
Let's see here. Let me pull up another one. Oh my God, there's so many questions. Thank you very much, everybody who's jumping in here. Let's see here. We got one from Drew Taylor. What's up, Drew? Send help. Try to. PPR, pick 3, Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, or Bucky Irving. So Bucky Irving, I'm just going to say, is a must start the rest of the season. I don't care.
What?
He is
over Kyron Williams or Jonathan Taylor? Out of those four, you would still go with Irving? I'm not saying Irving isn't great.
Just pick 3 out of these guys. Yeah.
So who would you kick out? Who's getting kicked out of the room? Who's getting kicked out of the club?
Yep, good luck with this. What? No, I mean, I don't mean to say what like that, but
I have complete faith in Bucky Irving.
Okay, who's getting kicked out of the club?
I told you, Chase Brown.
Oh, Chase Brown. What? Oh, dude, that's wild. Chase Brown? Dude is getting what? Like, how many carries has he gotten a game? Chase Brown. Do we have those stats?
Oh yeah, if you look at his, I mean, if you look at the last, really, we'll say he's kind of taken over for Mixon around week 7, week 8, I think is that spot. He's had workloads of 27 carries, 13 carries, 22 carries with 5 targets, 11 targets, and 7 targets with 5 receptions and a touchdown in all but one of those games.
I'm struggling to bench a guy like that over the talent of Irving. I'm not saying Irving isn't talented, very talented. And if he was the 1,000%, but he's still in a committee with Rachaad White. That's the tough part. I don't know. That's my struggle. My struggle is that Irving's a great running back, but out of those 3, I don't know, dude. Tough to bench.
This is like the guy plays well. He has a great yards per carry average. He's getting more work. This schedule rest of the season isn't exactly going to be hurting him against running backs. It's for me. He is a smash must start the rest of the season.
Yeah, I trust Bucky Irving as a player that, if given the opportunities, he would be the smashiest of smash plays of all of them. But as Derek Brown pointed out over at Fantasy Pros, since week 7, Rachaad White's been the RB8 per game. That same time frame, Bucky Irving's been the RB12. He's still at 42% of the snaps versus 54 for Rachaad White, albeit the explosiveness, the efficiency, everything about Bucky Irving screams he should be the play. The coaching staff still hasn't made that change yet, and that just irks me.
And that's all I'm saying is you're expecting that production with 42% of the snap count. that's tough to rely on. Like last week, the other week before the bye, I think he had like 13 carries. Now he got 88 yards, right? I get it, but it's a big risk. You're relying on him making big chunk plays compared to Chase Brown, Kyrene, Jonathan Taylor, who are going to get the rock 20 odd times, and they're averaging 4 yards a carry or whatever.
Now the tiebreaker, if Jorge had to come up with one that does make sense that I can understand, is Carolina matchup versus Pittsburgh matchup. Rightfully so, but I can't. I still go Brown.
I get it.
Taylor.
It's a hot take. I'm not disagreeing that it's not. But I've seen enough to know that I can't take him out of my lineup.
Hey, I don't think it's that hot of a take per se in terms of Bucky versus Rachaad White in that offense, because I have Bucky at RB16 on the week and I have Rachaad White as RB29. But I also have Chase Brown as RB11, Jonathan Taylor at RB12, and Kyren Williams as RB5. Six.
If I had to play Irving out of those ones, I would kick Jonathan Taylor to the curb.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you, even though I have Taylor that high. I think New England they haven't really shown it per se, but it wouldn't shock me to see Indianapolis offense sputter with Anthony Richardson and then not put him in a position to actually be, as dangerous. Maybe they have to. I expect fully Tampa Bay to just own this game. But then again, you know what? I thought the Chiefs would own Carolina too, and they didn't. Carolina's played really well.
Patriots have been in closer games than people give them credit for. There's been probably 5 or 6 that they only just lost. So I'm not saying they're elite, but saying the Patriots can put up points and they can stop a lot of offenses.
Yeah. Well, good luck, Drew. You're in a great position. Is that you have 4 really good options that I hope it comes down that each one of them scores, 18 to 21 points apiece, and you ultimately didn't make a difference whoever you start. On to the next one, Jorge.
A little self-praise here. Mega Brick says, thanks for your answers, guys. Love the show. Thank you. We got Robert Christensen, full PPR, need 4 running backs. Bijan, Brees, Brown, Bucky, Walker, Brian Robinson.
Start there. Let's answer that one. So you need 4 of these. So there's 6. You got to sit 1. Are we in agreement that we're sitting Brian Robinson or not?
Yes.
I am, just because I worry he's going to be on a snap count.
Jorge said earlier that he's fully confident that they're going to put him on the field, that he's good to go. I trust that more than I trust Brees Hall being fully good to go. Like his coming off a bye, having a knee injury and not practicing, albeit I know he's gotten in limited practices and he's supposed to be good to go. That has me scared that Braylon Allen sees 50% of the touches or snaps. And if that's the case, Brees Hall's my other person I'm benching, and I'm starting Bijan, Chase Brown, Bucky, and Kenneth Walker. What do you guys think? Am I wrong in that, or do you guys agree?
Bijan and Brown are must starts for me. I struggle to bench Brees Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Walker is a must start as well. So you've got Bijan, Brown, and Walker. Probably sticking with Brees Hall just because of the talent, but I'm with you. I am concerned as well about that injury.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. Take out Brees. Then he has a wide receiver question: MVS or Flowers? And then the quarterback question: Gino or Murray? So let's start with the wide receiver.
I'm going to go with Zay. I love, like we said earlier about MVS, the Rams allowing such good opportunities deep, but I don't see a 0 floor for Zay. I see a 0 floor for MVS, or at least maybe a single-digit floor. I think maybe the ceiling potentially could be higher for MVS, but not that drastic personally. Do you guys both say Zay?
Yeah, it's Zay and Kyler for me.
How about a quarterback for you, Gino or Kyler?
I'm going to go Gino. I think the defense for the Vikings helps to contain Kyler Murray a little bit.
I struggle with this one pretty hard because Kyler, if I knew he was going to run, I would say Kyler, but I don't know that anymore. Like going into the season, never once would I thought, all right, well, you know what? He's going to have a streak of 4 games where he doesn't get past 21 yards rushing. And that's where we're at right now. 5 for 19, 2 for 6, 3 for 21, 2 for 9. Now, the worst part about that is he's fumbled in each one of those 3 of those 4 games too. So I'm going to go with Gino as well, just for that. But I have him close. I have him back to back. I might just switch him around right now and put Gino ahead just so that I.
This makes me happy here from Drew. I have convinced him to keep Bucky Irving, and you guys have convinced him to take Jonathan Taylor out. So there we go. That works out beautifully. So we've got Chelsea in the chat. Good morning, Chelsea. Good morning, full PPR. Quarterback, Baker Mayfield or Herbert. Tight end, Goddard or Njoku. Flex, Addison or Gus Edwards. These are great questions.
They are. Golly. So I have Baker. I have Herbert 2 spots ahead of Baker. I have Herbert as my QB 4. Oh, I have him as my 4. Yeah, I have Herbert over Mayfield. I'll be honest with you. I probably was getting ready to say Baker against Carolina, but I think I'm going to stick with Herbert. That's where all my rankings and everything that I had led up until that point. So I say Herbert. What you say?
I say Mayfield. So this is off to a great start.
That's okay. I won't have a problem with that because Carolina matchup is enough for anybody to flip. And like I said, I like Mike Evans better than, or I like the Buccaneers with Mike Evans better than obviously without. And that goes without saying. But how about it tight end? Dallas Goedert?
I like Njoku.
I like Njoku too. Not having Cedric Tillman really makes the point for Njoku more so. But then Jordan Addison or Gus Edwards?
For me, it's Addison because it's PPR. Gus Edwards is more of a half non-PPR guy for me in the situation.
You know what? I'm right there with you. I like the workload that Gus should potentially get, but even then, we saw Hassan Haskins get carries. Kamani Vidal, they want to try to get involved, I know. So, yeah. So there you have it. It's Justin Herbert or Baker Mayfield. Choose your destiny there. And then David Njoku and Jordan Addison. Thanks, go. Chelsea.
Mr. Scampers. Reaches like Scampers finally shows his face. Seriously, you're late. All the West Coasters, all our West Coast regulars, you are the late one this week, which is shame on you. But welcome back. Welcome to the show. Let's see here. He has a question. Half PPR, drop one.
Okay.
Charby, Blake Corum, or Ray Davis. I don't have any of their lead back, so he doesn't need these handcuffs for. Okay, anyways, I get you.
So best opportunity of all these guys. Let's start with that. Like if the lead back was out, who's most likely to take on the full workload and be in the most advantageous spot? I think it's between Blake Corum. Man, Corum, Davis, and Charbonnet probably are all three. Even though I have been holding on to Jonathan Brooks the longest, I think Jonathan Brooks is the one that I probably drop.
Yeah, we have no idea what to expect for Jonathan Brooks. So give me no.
Sorry, Scampers. That sucks because I've been holding on to him this whole time too, and yeah, nothing.
So then we have here Tootsie Pop 6 back in the chat. Nate, I heard you say Wandale has been a pooper. I mean, not pooper. When does the support group meet? Why did I start him? Regret. You started him because he had PPR upside with Daniel Jones, and he at least got your receptions, if not
had.
So yeah, you're not the only one.
You know what though? I will say this. With Drew Lock, I was more confident in Wan'Dale than I was with Tommy DeVito.
I'm a Drew Lock fan, man. I like
I am
him.
too. The dude knows music. I mean, he also scrambles and got some good fantasy points this past week. I always like seeing his little TikTok reels and stuff, but which has nothing to do for anything anybody would be talking about here. But I digress.
The support group is the third Sunday of every month at 8:30 p.m. after 8:30 p.m. whichever time you're in. Good luck.
Yep, there we go. Mr. Magic, JSN over DK, full PPR. Ooh, I love this question.
Stop. Enough with this. Come on.
You're rolling DK. He's your guy.
Yes. I mean,
just let's not get too cute, guys. All right. Unless you're number one, and it doesn't matter if you lose this week, and you're just playing around with the lineup for the hell of it. Just play DK.
I will say the slot corner, and we were talking about this earlier. Michael Carter II, the slot corner for the Jets the past few weeks, is the poorest graded cornerback on their team. So if there was an area to take advantage of, it would be there. But all the cornerbacks have been playing very poorly for the Jets. So I don't know whether or not it's going to be as much of a significant advantage rolling JSN out, hoping that you're getting a couple extra points here when DK has take it to the house material or capability week in and week out.
That's the dilemma that I face, is because let's say 3 weeks ago, you asked me the same question and I said, come on. I was like, you can't ask me that question. Or 4 weeks ago, I'd have said it's DK. And then JSM was the wide receiver 1. Or week 11, same question. I would have said, yeah, DK against San Francisco. Slot corner is better in San Francisco than outside. Travis Ward's out. I don't know if that was the case or not, but I would have said DK, and I'd have been wrong because he beat him. And then last week, I said the same thing. Don't start JSN because, shockingly enough, the slot corner in Arizona had limited opposing wide receivers to under like 70 yards every week and had been dominant. What happened? JSN puts up 77 and a touchdown. And then this week, same question, and I'm still going to say DK, and I'm going to probably be wrong because JSN's going to put up like he's done for the last, really since week 4. 12 targets, 7 targets, 9 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets, 13 targets, 11 targets, 7 targets. I have to buy into JSN. I have to do it. But I have a hard time against DK. So that sucks. I'm sorry.
I love Will here. So much support here. Oh, great. Jorge sabotaging somebody else's lineup. Just kidding. I don't trust Justin either. What did we say? You got Jorge? Is that what we said a couple weeks ago?
T-shirt's coming.
Yeah, there you go. You got Jorge. Exactly.
And it's just going to be us pushing like a picture of a fantasy football person down the steps. And that's what's going to be getting called. You got Jorge.
The person down the steps will have a T-shirt that says my roster or your roster.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
Sorry to bring up bad things.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, stairs are traumatizing to me, but it's fine. Whatever. Thanks, guys. Another this is from Chelsea. Another league question. Not sure who to start. Full PPR. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. So first off, 2 running backs. Barkley, you check. Yep. Mixon, James Cook, Hubbard, Mixon, and Barkley. First 2.
It's Barkley, Mixon, and Nico Nakua. Those are your givens, right?
Yeah, and then here's the thing: floor, Ertz, ceiling,
Taysom.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that given the
flex, I'm going James Cook.
Was flex an option?
Yeah, flex was an option.
I'm right there with you. I'm going to go James Cook as well.
Boom. All right, let's go here. Charlene, Los Angeles, D, or drop for Indy, or Seattle. All you know what grinds my gears? You people who play in DST leagues, haven't converted to IDP leagues, you grind my gears. But you know what? It's okay. I still love you guys and gals.
I love DST and kickers, man. They're people too. They're part of the game. We need to embrace the game as a whole, not just
You want
not just
punters?
offensive players and a handful of defensive players.
The fact that you said that in such a serious voice is
Embrace, show
I
the
need-
love.
I
This
need
is
to feel
fantasy
more skin.
football, not fantasy offensive football with a handful of IDP players. All right, embrace the game. The kickers are part of the game. Defense, special teams, part of the game. They're a whole
I don't
team.
have a problem with kickers. I have a problem with the defense special teams where it's like
I don't
you're
mind if
already
you want to add an IDP player, but you got to have DST and kicker. Add an IDP player or 2 or 3. I'm good with it.
well,
No, I mean-
FFC is, Iggy over at Sports Affiliation. He does this weekly or yearly tournament called the FF7s, and they do have DSTs as well as IDPs and offensive players. So that'd be something.
Yeah, the defense will score like 40 points a week in that league too.
Yeah.
I want to incorporate, this is my soapbox, is into special teams. There's got to, let's involve the punters. If you can cough and corner, any punts within the 10, you get like a point. Punts within the 5, you get 2 points. Because I think that's a very important, pivotal part of the game that is overlooked. That, you know what, you might
Well,
be
I've
watching those
returned-
punts.
My league, my main league, I have return yards, punt or kickoff return yards as well.
Right.
It makes a difference because if
It does.
they run it back for 80 yards, most defenses you get nothing for it.
Mhm.
You get 8 points.
Would have saved Amir Abdullah's week this week because
Yeah,
that was
there
the
you
only
go.
thing he
Yeah.
had it. So, all right, next question. And Charlene, you wouldn't have to buy one, Charlene. We would personally give you one.
I actually don't think we answered her question, did we? Chargers
Ooh.
or
Sorry,
Indy?
capitalism took over. That's
Seattle versus the Jets, Indianapolis versus New England.
I like
I'm
Indy.
sticking with the Chargers. They're playing the Falcons. I think the Chargers bounce back this week. I'm not making any rash moves, but
I man, I bounce back and forth between the Colts and the Chargers.
what the hell is a Charger, by the way?
Lightning
What is
bolt.
a Charger?
I
A
don't know.
call.
It's what they put your plates on at like weddings and fancy dining establishments. Those are called Chargers, aren't they?
Because it used to be, I remember when I'd go to the games here in San Diego, it was San Diego Superchargers. What the hell is this?
Supercharger.
San Diego Chargers. What is a supercharger? Not a car. I understand it.
I think that's what they were referring. I hope that's what they're.
I don't think so. I feel like it's got something to do with a horse because their old logo was a horse.
So a charger technically is a horse trained for battle, a cavalry
Okay.
horse.
There you go.
The northern charger is an even-hoofed animal, part of the same family as the bullquist sheep, sometimes called the southern charger. It is known for its
Where
strength
does the
and
bolt
power.
come from?
Both the female and male are used for riding, and people tend to refer to the animals regardless of gender as ram. Look at them, very diversion. Was that DEI or DIE and inclusivity?
The other
DEI?
thing,
Yeah.
what is a bill? The Buffalo Bills. What is a bill?
I bet that's got to be a nickname for a buffalo or something.
Have we never
Or-
asked this question?
People who wrangle buffaloes, the Buffalo Bills.
And they circle the wagons. That's
Is
what
it?
With it. I don't know.
It says. They're named after Buffalo Bill Cody, who literally hunted bison, but I don't know if that's actually true or not. I'm just relying on the interwebs. All right, quick final answer for Charlene.
Let's not get into
Chargers
the
are-
Washington Redskins.
Oh,
Right.
you can't say that.
Said the bad
They were
word.
that for years.
You just
They
got
were that for
canceled.
years. I still think they should have kept the name. The
I don't
Washington
think-
Redskins for what, 40 years?
There is conversation going on that they want to bring back the logo, but not the name.
Because I heard they actually asked some people in the community and no one was offended by it.
You're
Well, it's
very
like-
right.
Well, it's like when you go to the Chiefs game, right? I've been to maybe 4 or 5. There's always that group of people out the front. You ever seen them, Nate?
I
they're-
never have seen them.
They usually stand in the corner. There's like 20 of them. and they're against the, they do the
Tomahawk chop.
Yeah, the tomahawk chop. They're trying to get rid of the tomahawk chop and the name Chiefs. But
Yeah, I know.
We're trying to do that with the Braves in baseball, and
They did.
it is a highly contested and debatable topic, but we will.
everyone's too soft in 2024, man. Everyone's too soft.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you.
Everyone gets offended in the drop of a hat.
Well, here we go, Jorge. This will get
I take offense to your offense that I'm being offended so easily there.
Oh no, I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
I'm messing with you. I was just messing with you.
But here's one that get Jorge all hot and bothered. Dan says, "Good morning. Half point PPR scoring, half point per reception." Jorge, remember,
I understand.
point per reception.
I got it.
Reception.
I got it.
Choose
Target.
one at the flex. Pop Douglas, Nick Westbrook, Akine, or MVS.
This is
Slight
tough.
underdog needs upside. I know your answer, and you're gonna go with the touchdown.
The key, I'm right. So you think it's upside?
Yeah, and it doesn't mean. I mean, the upside with the MVS is just the same.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
no Olave. I mean, I like the upside of MVS. I think the floor is DeMario Douglas. I think he gets you 4 catches for 50 yards, but you're not looking for that, right?
No, he's looking for 2 receptions for 21 yards and a touchdown. Which, if you're looking for that, I got a person for you. Guess who it is? NWI. Nick Westbrook Akine. So the answer is MVS. The second is Nick Westbrook Akine, I guess, and then DeMario Douglas. But if you want to start Westbrook Akine, because if you do, you will get probably nothing short of 35 messages from Jorge. If you don't, and he puts up the touchdown, you'll get nothing short of 60 text messages from Jorge. So what do you want more of? Do you want a cease and desist letter to go out to Jorge early or often? Take your pick.
Love it. Let's see. We got Jim in the chat here. PPR league. I have Hunter Henry as a tight end. I need one of the following for flex: Disley or Stevenson.
Stevenson's so tough to trust, man.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys that when you trust him, he fails, and the moment you bench him, he gets you 3 touchdowns. I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, so last week, Stevenson was on the field for 42%. 42%, which the only reason I'd ever start Ramondre is because I expect him to get, 70% of the touches. And maybe last week was a one-off, but they have a terrible offensive line. I don't trust the opportunity. So I'll say Will Disley. You guys, that's not crazy, right?
I like this. I agree with you. I like that.
All right.
We got, I love this. Johnny Detroit. What's up? Full PPR. Captain Crab Legs, Jameis, or Mandrews in the Superflex spot. That's great. I love it. It's Jameis for me.
It is too. Yep. I mean, I guess if you got like -6 points for an interception or something crazy, maybe I could be swayed, but I'm still going. What else did he? So someone else said he got in trouble for stealing another food. I don't remember what it was.
Oh yeah. I heard about that last week too. They weren't saying crab legs. They were saying like, what other? Yeah, I don't know.
Have you seen the YouTube clip with Caleb Priestley interviewing Jameis Winston?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to check it out when we get offline here. It's hilarious, dude. And the other guy, have you seen their interviews, right? Like it's called like Sunday Conversation or something.
Yeah.
And the other guy, Glennie Balls, is dressed as a lobster.
As a crab. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. That's good.
And James is like, I know crab. That's not crab. It's funny. You got to check it out.
That's good. I will go on record as saying this. I don't believe he probably stole the crab legs. I think that they were given to him.
I think it was nothing. They were just like, hey, man, have some crab legs. What is it?
You're
20
a superstar.
bucks?
Exactly.
20 bucks?
Here, dude, take them.
We're not talking about some $1,000 items, like $20 worth of crab legs. That's wild.
Yeah. And the cashier at the Publix was like, man, that's Jameis Winston. Hey, man, nah, you're good. Go ahead. And Jameis probably said, you sure? He's like, yeah, get out of here. He's like, all right, cool, man, thanks. Dapped him up, walked out, and they busted him.
Guaranteed it.
And then
Guaranteed
the cashier at Publix had to switch schools because he was going to get his ass beat. And now he ended up going to FAU, got expelled, and probably living a terrible life now because he gave away he gave the crab legs. He stole them, as far as I'm concerned. Free Jameis. Bust that punk at Publix.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Who knew? Who knew we had to go hit on the cash register at Publix 10 years ago? That's good.
Yep. We'll find out.
Peter. We'll put his name on a T-shirt and say, "Don't trust this guy," or something along those lines.
Probably
Peter Petrovic has to say, full PPR: Ramondre, Brian Robinson, and not because the format gives a difference here. It's just I trust Brian Robinson than Ramondre.
Likewise.
All right, Robert, thank you. I'm going to be playing Bijan, Bucky, Brown, Walker, Flowers, Gino. Let me start over again. Wow. I'm going to play Bijan. But
yep.
Is he answering
this is the question? He's reaffirming our answers that we gave earlier, making sure that you know that he's starting Bijan, Bucky, Brown, and Walker instead of JT, right? JT was the other one, the odd man out, I think.
Yeah.
Zay, and then Geno Smith.
Nice.
And I mean, man, 9-3. First place. 3 quarterback superflex IDP league. Holy hell.
That's what I'm talking about. There you go. All right, Robert.
Lord.
Love it.
How does Robert not have more questions for us on a weekly basis? Holy.
Why are you just finding us now? No, come on.
Yeah.
We have podcasts all Wednesday night, all Friday night for DFS, for waiver wire shows on Tuesdays, and we're here every week. So yeah, please come back. We love to help you out there. Alvin Lee over on X. Good morning. Who'd you like to start today? Khalil Shakir or Amari Cooper?
I believe in the talent of Cooper. I mean, out of those two, it's an easy one for me. It's Cooper.
I trust in short, easy design catches of Shakir that in that weather. I get what you're saying, Dave, and I'm not, and I kind of can go back and forth. I'm intrigued to see just where I have those two, and I have to imagine I have them close. I have Shakir 7 spots ahead. Maybe is there anything I'm missing? Let's see. In the last 2 games, Buffalo, he's only had a 54% route participation, 6% target share. I don't know if I trust those numbers per se to be the end all be all, but Shakir just seems safer for me, even though I do agree. I think the talent of Amari Cooper is greater than Khalil Shakir. I think the scheme is probably more poised to benefit Shakir.
All right, let's go here. Charlene, IDP question. Ugh, gross.
Okay.
Or Franklin Myers. Ugh. Leave your roster spot empty.
Don't do that, Charlene. Terrible advice.
Got Jorge did that. I need to dust off the cobwebs on these guys. 1 second. Hold on. Let me check this out real quickly. While I'm doing that, maybe you want to.
Well, you know what? You said Kalijah Cansey earlier. If Kalijah Cansey's having a good game, maybe that just means Vita Vea is going to be the recipient of some double teams to Cansey, and he'll get through.
I mean, Vita Vea last week, 23.8% win rate, 19.1% pressure rate. Him and Kalijah Cansey are basically 1A and 1B in that department, which you would like to see out of your interior defensive lineman. So, yeah, boom, Vita Vea. There you go. I guess that wasn't so hard after all. Jim R., Bo Nix or Kyler Murray?
Oh, boy.
I just feel this defense for the Vikings is just, they're going to do a good job of kind of keeping him contained on the ground a little bit, to be honest with you.
He's been contained. That's the crazy thing. It hasn't been the running game. I mean, he hasn't done much as a result. Don't get me wrong, but in the last 4 weeks, he's had 3 games of 260 and a touchdown or more, and 260 or more in 2 of those. 260 plus a touchdown in 2 of the 4 weeks. 1 off week against the Bears, which again their secondary is so dangerous, which takes away. I don't think Minnesota's secondary is dangerous. I think their pass rush is dangerous. I'm going to lean Kyler. I understand why you're making the case for Bo Nix, though, because I have Bo Nix higher. Damn it. I guess I'm going to go Bo Nix too, man. Yeah.
There we go.
I need to switch this up.
Charlene needs a tight end and 2 flexes. She has the options of Taysom, Ingram, JSN, McLeod, McLaurin, Mooney, my guy, Westbrook-Akini, Scott Fishbowl scoring.
No, I don't have any Scott Fishbowl questions for myself anymore. That's for sure. Got booted 1.5 points, Jorge. That's what I missed it by.
Thanks. Oh,
didn't matter. If you're not winning the whole thing, who cares?
this is
all right. So, what do you think? Taysom's upside, or Ingram has about as stable a floor as there is, especially with Lawrence back.
I would go Ingram, JSN, McLaurin.
How many bloody leagues are you in, Charlene? Jeez. Was it like 8?
Sheep.
No?
Hey, don't you league shame her. She must be in 50 leagues.
Dude, I did 13. I did 13 leagues a couple of years back. It was too much. Couldn't do it.
It's ridiculous. I can't say how many I'm in for tax reasons and legal reasons. But man, I will say that's a trick, because I really want to, and this might be a hot take, I really want to take Mooney over McLaurin, but I don't think I can recommend it. Jaden and McLaurin in that offense over the last couple of weeks, just outside of like 2-minute spurts where they are just disgustingly nasty, and then that deep bomb to McLaurin, it was whisper quiet. And Mooney's only had 1 game, really, maybe 2 games all year, where he hasn't been at least wide receiver 3. And no, I take that back. That's incorrect. So forget what I just said.
Taysom, JSN, McLaurin.
Yep, stick with McLaurin, but I do love Mooney. I wish you could put Mooney into your lineup, but you can't. So sorry, Charlene. Maybe in another league.
She's in 26, by the way, but 8 are best ball.
Only 8 are best ball?
Only, yeah. Or
Damn,
8
that's
are
good. Good for you, Charlene. All right, Billy Blanks.
Sit one. Reese, Bucky, Tyron.
Oh, boy.
You know my answer.
You're sitting Bucky. I'm sitting Brees.
I'm sitting Brees.
I think that both Bucky and Brees, I'm going to say this. I bet that their workload is similar between the two. But I don't worry about it, the re-aggravation of an injury to Bucky, since he doesn't have one as much as his Brees. But I can't believe I'm saying that. But that's where I'm at. So I'm sitting Brees. Dave's sitting Bucky. Jorge is sitting Brees. Good luck.
Hey, I got one for you guys, right?
Okay.
I think I brought it up before, but we didn't answer it. I'm in a terrible RB2 situation. I lost J.K. Dobbins and Austin Eckler. My running backs were crap before. So I got Kamara as my one. My options are McNichols or Ray Davis. It's gross, I'm aware, but I don't know.
Think it's in the matchup, just because of the matchup in the running game situation here.
Say again, sir?
But Buffalo for Ray Davis, just because of the conditions, I just feel like they'll be running the ball a lot more, and more running backs will get an opportunity at Buffalo.
That's what I have right now.
Yeah.
CJ Mosley is inactive, in case anyone was there.
Yay, again. Guy's been tearing it up since coming on a replacement of CJ Mosley at injury. Let's see here. J-Tube. Start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Puka, Pickens, Evans, Bucky. Okay, so my flex is Bucky. My 2 wide receivers would be Puka and I'll go $2 and a Ram.
I'm the same. I will actually live with Irving over Pickens. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, man. I really want to start Pickens because Cincinnati's such a great matchup for receivers and quarterbacks, but
so I have a question for you guys.
Goes missing.
Would you start Russell Wilson today in this matchup against Cincinnati or Jaden Daniels versus the Tennessee Titans?
Oh, it's Jaden Daniels. I'm going Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I'm a big Russell Wilson fan, but he had a good game against the Jets and has not been great other than that. I mean, the game they won against the Ravens, I think it was literally 6 field goals. And then he kind of imploded last week with game against the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I'm not as sold on Russell Wilson. I'm not saying he's doing a terrible job, but he's not impressing me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, 2 top 10 finishes on the season and 3 of the 5 that he's played so far, 2 top 10s, 2 top 25s, and a 26. I mean, it's the ceiling is there, but like you said, that was against the Jets where he ran one in, threw for 2. It was kind of a down week overall for quarterbacks for him to have that QB3. But Jaden Daniels, be the first to admit, Jaden Daniels has not impressed the last month, and I still take that upside. I mean, we saw last week he was through the first half of the game. Jorge, you can probably tell me better. I remember it was disgusting, like 1 interception and 100 yards at halftime, and then he finishes the QB1 overall because he ran for 74 yards, which was the third highest total of the season. So I don't know why we're beating this up. Yeah, is that for you, Jorge?
Yep, it is.
Yeah, start Jaden Daniels. Come on.
I know. I should know better. All right. Will says, what would you expect from Troy Anderson coming back off of injury? Dude's been off injury, on injury, off injury, on injury. Chances are people are probably thinking just like I am. And that is, I don't want to drop anybody right now that has more consistency than Troy Anderson. So I do agree with you. Just let him sit on waivers for a while. You have not been Jorge, Will. You have been helped in this situation. So you're welcome. Thank you very much for the question. Jim R. Calvin Ridley or Marvin Harrison Jr. in PPR? Dave.
Come on.
I mean, it's a fair question.
No, it's not a fair question. All right.
Well, it is fair. I mean, Ridley has shown
Question.
signs of
war. This is war. MHJ. All the way.
Well, sometimes if you go to war with a unloaded gun, you lose. Just because you have a gun, and that's what Marvin Harrison is. He looks like he's an assault rifle. Unfortunately, sometimes he's a pellet gun and doesn't do much for you. But Calvin Ridley, unfortunately, has an tied to an arm that isn't as reliable.
And that's the point. I would rather Kyler Murray throwing me the ball than I would Will Levis. Is Will Levis still starting today?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Well, look at Hopkins. Hopkins going from Will Levis to Patrick Mahomes, who has not been that impressive, but Hopkins has been a viable flex.
I think I read somewhere that I know I read somewhere. I just don't know the exact that since week 7, Mahomes has the most touchdown passes of any quarterback in the NFL. I think I saw. I'll have to look that up and see so that I'm just not spewing bullshit into the
you know who's with Will Levis there, Dave? Nick Westbrook.
Yeah, true. But look, I mean, he's been okay, but it's just an unreliable quarterback. You know that at any time we might have Mason Rudolph step in. I don't know if I want the red-nosed reindeer throwing to Ridley or Akine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think that wraps up. Unless we get more questions in the chat today, I think that's going to wrap up the Fantasy and Frames kickoff show, folks. Thank you. Honestly, didn't know if we were going to have a show today just because of the Thanksgiving holiday, but it's glad to know that you all are still tuning in, and we really appreciate it. And look, Nate, you said it best earlier. Like this is a very stressful week for fantasy managers because a lot of you may have next week a lot of your players on bye, and you need as many victories as you can to get into the fantasy playoffs. We get it; the stress is high, and you want to get the right decisions. And we hope that we helped you along those lines. And let us know. Follow us on all the different social media channels, and as well as follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel there. Reach out to us individually. Wherever you can get Dave at Connect Go on X. Is that correct, Dave?
Yep, correct.
Then Nate Markham, myself at Jorge B. Edwards, as well as at Fantasy and Frames. Yeah, guys, this is again another great week with you guys. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So, yeah, good luck. Hopefully, in a couple weeks when we're doing this, all of the questions will be. So I made the playoffs. Thanks a lot. Here we go. Let's march to the championship. But if you didn't make the playoffs because of something that Jorge or Dave said, please jump in the chat and let us know that too, because I would love to talk shit on them.
Love it. Thank you. All right. Y'all take care.
Bye.